I started this business about 3 years ago. The whole reason I started was because I always had a passion for art and woodworking. I've been doing fine woodworking for approximately 31 years now. I think the reason I love working wood so much is because each piece of wood is unique. I sort of joke to friends of mine saying that the wood sort of speaks to me, and it really does, because I can work on a piece and I may think that I'm going to carve this into some sort of maybe a jewelry box, and then right in the middle of it I'll say, no, I think that would actually be better with this thing or that thing or whatever, just by the grain pattern and stuff. My most favorite piece of work that I've done was a clock that I built for my father, who passed away a couple years ago. It was very special to me because he was my hero, and I wanted to build something that was very, very unique. He was from Alberobello, Italy, and I actually built this clock, and I carved the face of the clock that looks like his hometown. And when I presented it to him, he was pretty overwhelmed. It was just a great feeling. I'm not doing it for the money. I do this because of the passion that I have for my art. When people come up to my booth and see my a piece of art, and they fall in love with it and they want to buy it, and they spend money on it, to me it's like, oh, that's so cool. It brings me back to the day when I was a musician, and hearing people clap when you get done playing a song. It's like, ooh, it's that rush, you know. People that live here, they want to see something different. They want to see something unique, and rather than going down to the local box stores or supermarkets and such to shop, having crafters and artists locally is very appealing to individuals like that. When I go out, I love to see original work and original art pieces. And from speaking with a lot of my customers, they feel the same way.
Cosmosis Stones started in 2015. It initially started as a meditation practice to kind of alleviate some frustrations. I went to a friend's house and she had some copper wire. And while I was talking to her, I just started bending up the wire, you know, expressing my frustrations and naming what I wanted more in my life. She saw them and she said, well, you should put your crystals in there. And then when you're done, you should wear that and then make me one. And through the practice of meditatively wrapping crystals, I got better understanding of the function of copper and some of its properties, of how it's a conductor and how it transfers and transmutes energy, that it's antibacterial.
Members of the Senate and guests will please rise as we receive our distinguished president.
The Senate will please come to order. Members and guests will remain standing while we're led in our devotion by our wonderful chaplain, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain?
We read in the Psalms where we are urged to shout with joy to God, all the earth. Sing the glory of his name, make his praise glorious. From the 66th Psalm, verses 1 and 2. Join me as we bow in prayer, please. Most glorious and ever-loving God, here in the state of South Carolina, we are so very blessed. And yes, there are challenges and difficult matters that continue calling out for attention. We all know that, of course. Nonetheless, those matters must never be allowed to overshadow the good that is always right there before us as well. and all serving in the Senate, indeed all South Carolinians, need to unfailingly praise God for the rich gifts that surround us all. Therefore, O Lord, know how truly thankful we all are, and continue to lead these senators and staff members as they together work on specific ways to assure our people that the future for our state will be one of ever-increasing blessings to the benefit of all. So we pray in your loving name, dear Lord. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Senator from Cherokee, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Call of the Senate.
Please be seated. Please be seated. Call of the Senate has been requested, is granted. The clerk will ring the bell. The reading clerk will call the roll of the Senate to record your presence.
Mr. Adams, present. Mr. Alexander, present. Mr. Allen, present. Mr. Bennett is present. Mr. Blackman is present. Mr. Bright is present.
Hi, welcome to State House today. I'm Gavin Jackson here along with Maayan Schechter in the State House lobby. It is Thursday, March 19th. Checking the watch because we were here till midnight last night,
That's right.
Maayan.
It's been March 19th, 2 days in a row, it feels like.
And the reason we were here till midnight last night, maybe you were watching at home too from the comfort of your home, we were here covering that hemp derived consumable bill, H 3924. That debate continues today. We did have a second reading vote last night that failed, but that doesn't mean the bill is dead yet because they can have a motion to reconsider on this. There's going to be some more discussion about this bill. There was a lot of back and forth over amendments yesterday, up and down. Some were adopted, and some didn't. And of course, it's dealing with a variety of different things. But Maayan, let's kind of just like walk through what happened there yesterday. What stuck? What's in the bill as we know it right now?
Right. So this bill, when it first started, when it first came out of the House, it largely banned anyone under 21 from being able to purchase any of these consumable hemp products.
Simple regulation bill.
Right. The Senate has done what they've done. They are the so-called deliberative body, and they have been deliberating for quite some time now over this legislation. And they made a series of amendment changes to it yesterday. That included a change to ban home delivery. That included a change to put some kind of product warning labels on the products. And again, this bill, as they amended it, was very narrow. At the time, it was only dealing with those drinks.
Yes.
Everything else, including the gummies, which we had heard a lot of conversation about, were banned as well. Medical use, that was banned as well. So this was a very, very restrictive bill. And then everything kind of exploded last night.
Well, yeah, because we've been talking about this bill just dealing with drinks and selling them at beer and wine stores and liquor stores, and now it's just liquor stores.
Just liquor stores. So what happened last night is an apparent compromise attempt. Republicans pushed forward an amendment, pretty large amendment that actually overrided some of the other changes that they had made. But largely what it would do would move all these THC drinks up to 10 milligrams to liquor stores. So you could not buy them at gas stations, you could not buy them at retail stores, any other convenience stores. You also would now be allowed to buy gummies up to 40 milligrams per package. And that
for 10 milligrams,
Correct. And that also would only be sold at liquor stores. There are other provisions in that, including a safe harbor provision that would essentially say that if you're a manufacturer and you're already making these products that go above the legal limit here in South Carolina, you can still sell and manufacture the product, but you cannot sell it here in South Carolina. And there are penalties if you do that. So anyway, that amendment stuck to the bill. Interestingly enough, it was a complete opposite vote as what occurred last week when they tried to do the same thing, move everything into a liquor store, and it failed. This time they succeeded. We thought, okay, this is probably what is going to wind up being the bill as is. And then the bill continued to further explode. And very, very late in the night, past midnight, the Senate voted down a measure to pass the bill on that key second reading. And it was interesting, as we both saw, because of course Democrats were largely against the legislation. They felt like it was anti-freedom, too restrictive. You're basically forcing everybody to go into a liquor store, including perhaps those who have maybe switched from alcohol to these THC drinks. Now you're asking them to go physically inside of a liquor store to get it. And so we thought, okay, largely maybe the Republicans will go along with this because again, right now everything is unregulated. The votes seem to kind of go in that way, right? And then all of a sudden, bam, everyone starts switching votes. And then here we are today.
Well, and it's interesting too because there's been a lot of pushback on THC drinks and these gummies by major alcohol companies too, which have been pushing against this bill, as well as a lot of far-right religious groups aren't big on this bill too. So you've seen a lot of hardline Republicans who don't want these regulated, period. They want to ban. And so you kind of saw that movement happening. And it was kind of reminiscent about like the abortion debates we've seen in the past, where you see the Democrats really go in for the most extreme version of these bills because they know other Republicans don't want those, but they're siding with the minority of Republicans to really sink a bill in a sense, so a poison pill. But it is also interesting too, because then you're having to have these gummies that Democrats are saying is now, these gummies and these drinks are gonna be at liquor stores, only liquor stores, which folks in the retail business, you know, your grocery stores, your gas stations, what have you, vape shops, that's really annoying a lot of those folks too, because that's a lot of revenue for people that are now not going to have it under this current bill.
Right, and we asked Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey about that last night. You know, basically there are so many retail stores that are making a lot of revenue off of this, and this is helping, you know, maybe in large part keep their business alive. And he said, look, it's not about the money. It's basically ensuring that kids are not getting their hands on these products, that they are in restrictive place settings, that they're not being abused. You know, they also added a DUI offense in the bill as well that stuck, that would basically ensure that if you were pulled over driving and had a certain amount of this THC in your blood, that you could be charged with a DUI offense. So they are trying to make it as restrictive, but again, for a lot of those hardline conservative Republican senators, they still don't want anything. And so we're in a really interesting, or they're in a really interesting predicament today to sort out exactly how this bill, if it moves forward, what it will look like, will it move forward, or is it dead and we'll have to wait back for the House to do something? Yeah,
because it really does come down to this bill. Again, we've been talking ad nauseum on the Gavel, sctv.org/the Gavel, where you can follow along with what's going on up here at the State House. But we've been talking about how this bill was basically turning into just a drinks-only bill. The 5 milligram drinks would be sold at beer and wine stores and retail shops, and then 10 milligrams would be restricted just to liquor stores. And then there was no debate over the gummies, which became, no pun intended, a sticking point for this bill. And then now this bill was supposed to be a compromise where you get the 10 and the 5 milligram drinks and the gummies, but just at liquor stores. So that's also brought its own consternation. Of course, this is what compromise looks like, and it's really not pleasing a lot of people, too.
Right, and I think Democrats will probably argue that this was not really a compromise for them. But there are also Republicans who wanted to see the gummies brought back into the legislation. We've talked about this before, including here, that is an issue that's very personal to particularly one legislator in the House. That's Republican Representative Greg Ford of Dorchester. He has credited these hemp-derived gummies with really saving his son's life. He's 24 years old. He's suffered from seizures for his whole life, and the gummies have really helped, he has told his colleagues. And so had gummies not been in this bill, we definitely would have probably seen a fight over in the House. Now, again, the fact that this only restricts it to these liquor stores, we could still see a fight in the House if this bill does make it over, because I imagine that retailers, right, are going to be pressuring and lobbying their local representatives pretty hard on this one.
And of course, if this bill dies in the Senate, there's still that restrictive ban bill that is on the calendar in the House. And of course, there's that other bill that's now back and that was recommitted back to judiciary. So there's still some options open. And it is the end of week 10. We're marching our way down to May 14th, sine die, the last day of session. So still enough wiggle room, especially for a bill that's in this position. And of course, at the end of the day, I think lawmakers want something done here, whether it's a bare minimum or something more close to what we're seeing being debated in the Senate right now, when it just comes to at least making sure that 21-year-olds and over can purchase these and no one under that. But that also was the debate too. From Republicans talking about that, you're talking about Senator Shane Massey, talking about how this would make it more restrictive just to liquor stores. There's a counter argument there too, saying, well, what do you not trust beer and wine shops? Do you not trust grocery stores to ID people the same as you would at a liquor store to ensure that only folks over 21 could get these beverages and consumables? So that debate's going back and forth. I think you're trying to see some more pressure, and that's going to be like maybe more of the marching beat for these Republicans to keep this bill going in its current form, to make that argument about safety and accessibility and not as widespread. Because of course these were not on the scene up until 2018 when the Farm Bill was passed and this legal loophole came into existence. And now all of a sudden, here we are 8 years later, finally starting to try and regulate these things that have had some adverse effects for some folks, but also been wildly popular for Democrats and Republicans.
Right. And I think, too, that's the other issue, right? If they don't do anything, everything remains unregulated until the federal government maybe steps in.
Look at Congress lately.
Right. And so, I think from both the House and the Senate, we hear enough criticism of Congress and the way that they operate. And so a lot of folks are like, why would we wait on whatever Congress is going to do if we don't do anything? Now, I do think that we've had we've learned a repeated theme right now in this legislative session, even though we're only 10 weeks in, and that's don't be surprised, right?
Yes.
Try to keep your surprise at a minimum, because bills that we have thought were dead or were not coming up have
Truly.
magically come back up. And so just because perhaps if this bill does not go anywhere doesn't mean we couldn't see maybe a similar iteration of the legislation come up. I mean, we still have, as you noted, several more weeks to go. We don't have April crossover anymore. So the calendar is still a little bit wide open. The budget really hampers that, but there's still potential time.
Well, outside the State House, and we'll jump back into the Senate chamber shortly because they will be in. We did catch up with Senator Shane Massey, the majority leader. Briefly, he was having a little huddle over here with Senate President Thomas Alexander before the start of the session. Said there's a couple wrinkles still with this bill. He's hoping that a good night's sleep for some folks, again, maybe like 6 hours if you're lucky, will help, get some fresh eyes and fresh minds on this bill and this debate. It's still going to be somewhat of a long day, but not 12 hours long. Hopefully not. It's Thursday. There's always a little bit looseness on a Thursday, but it'll be interesting to see how folks deal with this bill, where the sticking points are again, and if anything actually moves forward at this point.
Right.
Who maybe switches their vote, Also, we had a few people missing yesterday. They'll be back on the fold. I mean, these were all tight votes on these amendments that we've been discussing and recapping, so hard to say where it's. We're not making predictions anymore.
No, I
the crystal ball's broken,
right.
folks.
We haven't had much sleep, so it wouldn't be good for us to do that anyway.
But I just want to also note that before the start of session today, I was over at the State Election Commission. It is finally opened on Monday. It's running through March 30th, and we did see Attorney General Alan Wilson, who's one of the Republican candidates running for governor, turn in his paperwork there with his running mate, State Senator Mike Rickenbach, who's a Republican from Florence. He was looking refreshed too, said the same thing about me. I don't know, I mean, we're just kind of taped together right now. But he filed, so of course he joins that race, the folks who've already filed, along with 5th District Congressman Ralph Norman, who filed on Monday, and then also a Low Country businessman, Ram Reddy, and then there's, I think there's a United Citizens Party candidate that I cannot remember the name off the top of my head yet, but filing's still open. It's wrapping up the first week of that here too. And also we're wrapping up the 10th week of the legislative session. The House will be back next week, so we'll see what they have in store for us. But right now, I think that's kind of the status of things. Catch up on the Gavel, scetv.org/the Gavel, so you can see what happened today. Tomorrow, we'll have a whole recap and a breakdown of really of the ins and outs of this process, because we did a bit of an abbreviated version of that today because it is so in flux right now.
Right.
We don't want to call anything yet, but we will have an update for you there on scetv.org/the Gavel and South Carolina Public Radio.
That's right.
And I'll have a little bit of a breakdown in the South Carolina lead. That will drop on Saturday, and Mayan, as well as some other reporters, will be on This Week in South Carolina with me Friday night at 7:30. We're doing a little bit of a mid-session recap of where things are, so check that out at ETV channels at 7:30 Friday, as well as on YouTube.com/SCETV News. That's where you can also watch us live if you're not at your television, or scstatehouse.gov. A lot of websites, a lot of resources. We're keeping you informed, and now we're going to send you back over to the Senate so we can see what's going to happen on that hemp drive consumable bill H3924. Thanks. Have a good weekend.
This is serving nearly 1,000 scholars in rural Sumter in grades kindergarten through 5th grade, and expanding in the future. The school is growing 1 grade level per year and is projected to reach full build-out in 2032 with 2,061 scholars. Liberty's model blends a no-excuses culture with joy, high expectations, and strong parent engagement, all working towards a shared goal, preparing graduates for high-wage job opportunities available right here in Sumter County. Liberty serves as a diverse student population. 72% of the scholars identify as minority, 71 come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and 14% are special education services. And students come from 17 different zip codes across 5 different counties. And this is also their first year that they're receiving a state report card grading, which they received a good rating, which is the second highest designation awarded by the State Department of Education. So I just want to say thank you for what you do, what you've done for Sumter. You've changed the game in education. Ms. Huggins, congratulations on your very well done accomplishment. We appreciate what you do, and we hope to help you do more. So please, senators, if you would help me welcome Liberty and Liberty STEAM Charter and Ms. Huggins, the newest nationally board certified teacher in Sumter County. So welcome to the Senate.
Welcome to the Senate. We're honored to have you visiting with us today, and congratulations. Great to see you. Thank you. Thank you, Senator from Sumter. Senator from Williamsburg, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Brief introduction.
You're recognized for introduction. Senator from Williamsburg.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Good morning. Before the senator from Berkeley leaves, I had written down something on my paper, and lo and behold, the first thing out of his mouth when he took to the well was exactly what I had written down, shout with joy unto the Lord. And so I don't know whether brilliant minds think alike, or whether or not we're just kindred spirits this morning, but I want to thank him for that, because there was a certain air of connectivity about it, which I definitely appreciate. Senators, we have a very special group here today as well, and I'm delighted that they're here on today at the time that they came in, because you all got an opportunity to see how we start our day. The fact that we acknowledge that we are all sons and daughters of an awesome creator, and that we have an incredible allegiance to this place we call the United States of America, and this place we call home, which is South Carolina. And so I'm going to ask my good friend, Reverend Willie Chandler, if he doesn't mind, to stand. Reverend Chandler organizes a group of pastors, ministers, and evangelists, and they try to come to the State House every year, not only to see what we're doing, but to encourage us and to pray for us in order that we might carve through those divisions and then center on those things that are truly beneficial for South Carolinians. And so we just appreciate our friendship with him. Now I'm going to ask all of the other ministers and evangelists that are with him to please, ma'ams and sirs, stand and just know how much we appreciate institutions like you all and what you do every single day, not for the benefit of yourselves, but for mankind. And so we just appreciate your presence here today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all that you do, all that you represent. And most importantly, so many of you up there I recognize, and you've been dear friends over the years, and so we appreciate you. So members of the Senate, if you all don't mind, please rise and join me in welcoming these fine folks who came to the State House to be with us on today.
Welcome to the Senate. We're blessed by your service. Thank you. Thank you. So good to see you.
And Mr. President, my last point, if you all don't mind, when you've observed enough, if you'll go downstairs, I'll watch when you all leave, and I'll meet you downstairs, and we'll spend a couple of moments together. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator from Williamsburg. Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Bright, what purpose do you ask?
Introduction.
You're recognized, sir, for introduction. Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Bright.
Would the teacher cadets from Burns High School please stand in the balcony? So this is James F. Burns High School teacher cadets, and we have the picture of James F. Burns, the namesake of the high school, up here on the wall to the left of Calhoun up here. So you guys have a great namesake for your high school, and I want to welcome you to the Senate. I've got a little bit. I love teachers, and sometimes teachers know how to these are future teachers, know how to deal with students, and they actually gave me exactly what to say, so I'm appreciative of that. So we don't get too long up here, because I know we've got a lot to do today. But the Burns High School teacher cadets, they're students that have a strong interest in one day becoming classroom teachers in our public schools in South Carolina, and we want to recognize them for their hard work in high school and wish them the best in their future endeavors. They are visiting the State House today to learn more about the political process and are being sponsored by the Palmetto State Teachers Association. So I want to thank them for being here today. I can still remember my kindergarten teacher, and it is amazing the impact, and you may never know the impact if you become teachers on the students' lives, but I'll be 56 this week, and I can still remember my kindergarten teacher. So it's a wonderful profession that you're heading towards, and I thank God for what you're going to do, and welcome to the South Carolina Senate.
Welcome to the Senate. We're honored to have you with us today. Enjoy your time here watching us here at the Senate. Welcome. Are there any petitions, memorials, presentments of grand jury, or such like papers? We have no communications. Therefore, we're on an introduction of new bills and resolutions. Reading clerk will please read.
Introduction of a bill by Senators Blackman, Verdon, and Grooms. It adds a section to the code so as to provide that a renter of a rental vehicle may agree that in the event of an accident involving the rental vehicle, the renter's automobile liability insurance company will pay up to its limits of liability before the rental income company must pay.
This bill will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Introduction of a bill by Senator Kimbrell and others. It's to enact the Protecting Children from Chatbots Act. Adds a chapter to the code so as to define terms related to chatbot usage, to provide that a covered entity shall make a limited access mode of a chatbot available and verify the user's age.
The bill will be referred to the Labor, Commerce, and Industry Committee.
Introduction of a bill by Senator Massey. It adds a section to the code so as to designate the first day of March of each year as Religious Liberty Day in South Carolina.
The bill will be referred to the Family and Veteran Services Committee.
Introduction of a bill by Senator Stubbs. It amends a code relating to Schedule I substances so as to add tryptamines to the list of Schedule I substances.
Senator from Chester, what purpose do you ask, sir?
Just briefly speak as to the bill.
You're recognized for introductory comments. Senator from Chester, up to 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bill that was just introduced by myself, Senator Clymer, and Senator Goldfinch, it actually addresses something that snuck out, I think, when this, hemp bill first came along. There is a problem out there where a lot of these stores are selling fake mushrooms and other hallucinogenics, and we've had, a couple instances in Chester County and Rock Hill where these people have gotten high on this stuff and done some pretty terrible things. For instance, in the city of Rock Hill. There were multiple people killed after a guy got high on this stuff and shot up the store in which he bought it from and had a standoff with police. We recently had at the governor's address, State of the State, he spoke about a young man that jumped face first through a window in Chester County, who was also allegedly high on these types of products. So this bill is simply to address that, make those products no longer available for the general public. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator from Chester. The bill will be referred to the Medical Affairs Committee. Reading clerk will continue to read, please.
Introduction of a concurrent resolution by Senator Jackson. It requests the Department of Transportation name a portion of Interstate Highway 77 from U.S. Highway 1 to Interstate 20 in Richland County, President Barack H. Obama Highway, and direct appropriate signs and markers.
Bill, the resolution is referred to the Transportation Committee.
Introduction of a Senate resolution by Senator Ott. It's to honor and celebrate multicultural businesses across the state for their contributions to economic growth, innovation, workforce development, and community resilience, and to designate April 14, 2026 as Multicultural Business Alliance Day in the state of South Carolina.
The resolution is referred to the Labor, Commerce, and Industry Committee.
Medical Affairs Committee has reported favorable with amendments on S. 862, a bill by Senator Tedder and others, adds a section to the code so as to allow parents to make certain health care decisions for children over the age of 18 if the child qualifies as a dependent on and is covered by the parent's health insurance.
Placed on the calendar.
Medical Affairs Committee reports favorable with amendments on S. 893, bill by Senator Verdon. It amends a code relating to definitions pertaining to the State Underground Petroleum Environmental Response Bank Act of 1988 so as to define a pipeline facility in accordance with the U.S. Code, amending further sections relating to the Superb account and Superb Financial Responsibility Fund so as to adjust the allowable costs for site rehabilitation.
Placed on the calendar.
Medical Affairs Committee has reported favorable on S. 895, bill by Senator Verdon. It amends the code relating to State Health Facility Licensure Act definitions so as to add to the definition of hospital all hospitals that convert to rural emergency hospitals.
Placed on the calendar.
Medical Affairs Committee reports favorable on H. 3967. This bill adds a section to the code so as to define biomass and other relevant terms to require that energy produced from certain sources are considered carbon neutral and from other sources carbon negative and for other purposes.
Placed on the calendar.
Medical Affairs Committee has reported favorable on a statewide appointment, member of the Board of Examiners in Speech, Language, Pathology, and Audiology reappointment of Ms. Sarah Davis Emery. Ms. Emery is from Spartanburg.
Received as information.
Medical Affairs Committee has reported favorable statewide appointment, member of the Board of Examiners in Speech, Language, Pathology, and Audiology reappointment of Mrs. Beth Finley Montgomery of Columbia.
Received as information.
The Transportation Committee has reported favorable on a statewide appointment at-large member to the State Ports Authority, Mr. Thomas A. Limehouse, Jr. of Charleston.
Received as information.
Transportation Committee has reported favorable with amendments on H. 3856. This bill amends the code relating to the applications for licenses or permits so as to delete the term blood type and replace it with the term information. Adds a further section relating to the issuance of special identification cards and veteran designations on driver's licenses.
This bill is being placed on the calendar.
York York County delegation has reported favorable on a appointment to the York County Natural Gas Authority representing the town of Clover, Mr. M. Brian Hall III of Clover.
The question is confirmation of the York County National Gas Authority reappointment. Those in favor would say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The individual is confirmed. The desk is clear. Senator from Darlington, what purpose do you rise?
Having voted on the prevailing side, I hereby move to reconsider the vote where H3924 failed to receive a second reading last night.
Senator from Edgefield, what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I move to carry over the motion.
Motion is to carry over the motion to reconsider the vote. All those?
Mr. President, so everybody understands, what this means is that at some point we would have to have a vote on the reconsideration motion. If that vote is successful, the bill would then be placed back on the calendar and we would have to get to it in some manner, but it does not come up immediately upon that vote. So, but I move at this point to carry over the motion.
Motion is to carry over the motion. That's a motion, so I need to act on that motion. All those in favor would say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Motion is carried over. Carry over. Senator from Chester, what purpose do you rise?
I was also going to request that it be reconsidered, but the motion was made. So.
Good. Thank you, sir. Senator from Richland, Senator Devine, what purpose do you rise?
For the purposes of a brief introduction.
You're recognized.
Russell.
Senator from Richland, Senator Devine is recognized. Give the senator your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the Senate. We have visiting with us a young lady I wanted to introduce. We have Ms. Sophia Chavez, who is an 8th grader at American Leadership Academy in Lexington. She's actually a constituent of Senator Ott, but I've known this young lady since she was probably 3 or 4 years old, and this is her spring break. Y'all, and she could have done anything she wanted to. She could have slept in late. She could have been watching TV. She could have been on devices, a lot of young people. But when her mom asked her what she wanted to do, she said she wanted to come and spend the day at the Senate. And so I just wanted us to give her a warm welcome. She'll be here for most of the day just watching democracy in action. And I know that one day we will see this young lady sitting here on the floor of the Senate. So I would ask if the Senate would please help me welcome Ms. Sophia Chavez.
Welcome to the Senate. Enjoy your time with us today. Good to have you here. Senator from Edgefield, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, I move that the Senate recede for 15 minutes.
Motion is that the Senate recede for 15 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will be in recess.
On the southern tip of South Carolina lies one of the most unique ecosystems with diverse wildlife and a variety of landscapes. Peaceful beaches, swampy marshlands, and a coastal forest stretch across the state's 187 miles of coastline. The quintessence of which is none other than Hunting Island, now seen from the sky. Hunting Island is a 5,000-acre semi-tropical barrier island that became a state park in 1935. The centerpiece of the island is the 136-foot lighthouse located just off the shore. The original structure was built in 1859, but was later rebuilt in 1875 after its destruction during the Civil War. It was uniquely designed in interchangeable cast iron parts, each weighing upwards of 1,200 pounds. During its operational life, the rotating lamp inside the lighthouse would have been visible from 17 miles. After deactivation, it was later opened to the public and is currently the only lighthouse in South Carolina that can be accessed by visitors. Today, guests of the park can climb 167 steps to the top of the observation deck for an impressive panoramic view of the surrounding area. Further inland, the area is dominated by mudflats and the winding pools of the marshland. On the boardwalks, wetland birds like the great blue heron can be seen in the cordgrass, searching for their next meal. Further down the pathways, the dense maritime forest offers protection from the predators. The trees reaching the canopy of the forest have thinner leaves to absorb maximum exposure, while trees near the forest floor have broader leaves so they can try and soak up what bit of sunlight slips through. Towards the shoreline, a saltwater lagoon sits between the beach and forest. Created by sand dredging, the lagoon used to be separated completely from the Atlantic Ocean. But now, the sea breaches part of the shore and converges with the lagoon. Its quiet atmosphere and thriving fish population make it the perfect place for anglers or visitors looking to relax near water but away from the surf. Though the island has a very serene sensation, it's experienced its fair share of violent weather and dramatic changes over the years. There's no place more evident of this change than a small stretch of beach on the south side of the island named the Boneyard. Hundreds of fallen pine and palmetto trees scatter the shoreline. The exposed roots of the dead trees twist around each other, creating an eerie yet elegant display. This is the after effect of climate change. Beach erosion cuts into the maritime forest, reshaping the island. Every year, nearly 15 feet of forest will be lost due to the shifting sands, leaving only skeletons of the woods behind. There are few other places in South Carolina with such breathtaking sights and diverse habitats. Hunting Island is an enchanting paradise, a utopia to lay eyes on from the sky. There are over 41,000 miles of road in South Carolina. Like veins in a body's circulatory system, they connect the busy cities and small towns to each other, each serving a vital role throughout our state. It's these vessels of transportation where you find some of the most delightful sights. Now, it's time to strap in as we hit the road and explore scenic Highway 81 from the sky. The journey begins at a small bridge that crosses Long Cane Creek within the Sumter National Forest. The first stop is the charming town of Mount Carmel. During the late 19th century, the Savannah Valley Railroad made this area a bustling community. One of the oldest buildings in town is the picturesque ARP Church built in 1836. It's a firm reminder that small things can still stand strong over time. The next stop is the quaint town of Calhoun Falls. The town was named after the Calhoun family, a prominent political family in the United States that settled the area in the early 1700s. Calhoun Falls sits on the doorstep of Lake Russell, a 26,000-acre reservoir that serves as a natural border between South Carolina and Georgia. The lake was created by the Richard B. Russell Dam, a hydroelectric facility built in 1985 by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The structure spans almost 2,000 feet across and is made with over 1 million cubic yards of concrete. The damming of the Savannah River required over 52,000 acres of land to be flooded, covering several significant archaeological sites. The Millwood Plantation, Fort Independence, and a Native American village were all excavated before the lake began to fill in order to preserve the historical remains. The lake also engulfed the historical Georgia-Carolina Memorial Bridge. It was constructed as a tribute to World War I veterans. Today, the bridge remains completely intact under 60 feet of water. Getting back on the road, 81 runs through a few more small towns. At Lounsville, the highway makes a 90-degree turn towards the town of Iva. Iva, another small railroad town, was settled in the late 18th century by Dr. Augustus Cook. It was originally named after him as Cook's Station. However, the doctor found out that there was already another community called Cook Station, so he decided to rename the town after his daughter, Iva Cook Bryson. In 1905, Iva saw a surge of growth after the construction of its textile mill in the center of town. Unfortunately, the mill closed in the 1990s, causing economic hardships. While some towns suffered from the highway's development, others prospered. The first city on the highway is Anderson. Named after Robert Anderson, a decorated militiaman who fought during the American Revolution, the city became one of the first areas in the southeast to have electricity. Long-distance cables from nearby hydroelectric plants lit street lamps, automated electric streetcars, and even powered the world's first electric cotton gin. This gave Anderson its nickname, the Electric City. The last leg of Highway 81 leads directly into downtown Greenville, the largest city in the upstate. Its initial growth was largely due to its textile manufacturing. For this reason, it was long known as the textile capital of the world. In roughly 80 miles, this highway captures a mixed bag of what South Carolina has to offer. From open countryside to flourishing cities, it's a drive worth seeing from the sky. There are countless abandoned buildings and relics scattered across South Carolina. Some, however, offer more than just a glimpse into the past. Accounts of strange phenomena have forever been associated with certain places across the state. Now, these mysterious ruins will be investigated from the sky. The ruins of Old Sheldon Church in Beaufort County have long been the subject of curiosity and misfortune. Built in the mid-18th century, these hollow grounds were originally the site of a church called Prince William's Parish. It was funded by William Bull, who is buried here along with some of his relatives. Though Bull was considered a loyalist to the crown, that didn't stop the British from burning down the church in 1779 during the Revolutionary War. Even more ironic is that after the church was rebuilt in 1826, it was burned down again, this time by the Union Army during the Civil War. Though there are conflicting reports about the second burning, All that remains today are the church's beautiful Georgian pillars and strong outer walls. These burnings may have something to do with the series of strange phenomena that have been witnessed here. There are tales of a woman dressed in a dark-colored bonnet who watches over the tomb of her child. It's said that if you pass by the gravestone, you can feel the mother's sorrow. Further inland near the town of Utahville, there's a ghost town like no other. Once a prosperous lumber mill settlement, the town of Ferguson has been literally washed away over time. It started out as a company town owned by two northern lumbermen who founded the Santee River Cypress Lumber Company in 1881. Nearly 350 people called this area home and worked the lumber mill day in and day out, being wholly dependent on the mill's success. Unfortunately, operations at the mill were shut down in 1915. The workers were laid off and Ferguson became a ghost town. In 1939, construction of the Santee Dam commenced. Now, the town is almost completely submerged by Lake Marion. Remnants and artifacts can still be found on a tiny island where part of the town remains. Locals tell stories of a greedy and blind mill manager that exploited his workers, paying them in non-transferable company coins. It's said that these coins can still be found at the bottom of the lake. The islands around the underwater ghost town are said to be haunted. Could it be by the townsfolk who are taken advantage of? At the state capitol in Columbia, there's a building that's always been both iconic and mysterious. Founded in 1821, the State Hospital on Bull Street housed and treated thousands of patients with all types of mental illnesses. The first section of the hospital was built by George E. Walker. He designed the building in a way that maximized light exposure and ensured it received ample fresh air. It was a common theory that this would help heal the mentally ill. Being one of the first public hospitals established in the United States, the building has had plenty of spine-tingling stories come out of it. There are areas of the hospital that have been said to have unexplained cold spots that will chill you to the bone. Others say disembodied voices echo through the hallways, letting visitors know to beware. Ongoing issues with staffing, funding, and overcrowding led to the hospital closing in the 1990s. The site was purchased by a private developer years later and was starting renovations when a mysterious fire broke out on September 12, 2020. Possibly a warning sign from those who still can't move on. Whether it's the spirits in a historical church, tales from an underwater ghost town, or hauntings of an asylum, South Carolina has its fair share of spooky ruins and are not for the faint of heart. Some scary places are better off being seen from the sky.
I grew up working in this shop right here, always a tinker and fiddling with this and that when I was growing up. So always asking my dad how things work and taking them apart and tinkering with stuff. And worked on cars and, you know, made a lot of mistakes. Anyway, I just fell into it, working on bat houses. I started way back before 2013, somewhere in there, just kind of building for Sunroof Adventures. It's an outdoor shop. We sell all kinds of outdoor gear, climbing, backpacking, camping, hiking, and then we also have a bike shop now. So we had bats in the barn there, and then we'd go up in the barn, and they'd sometimes later in the afternoon they'd be flying around inside. So we sort of call it the Bat Cave. We'd like, all right, we're going to the Bat Cave. So we always made fun of it, but we knew we had to get them out of there. So all along just started trying to figure it out. And so I called one of the DNR biologists, Mary Bunch. She said, yeah, you just got to build a bat house, like, all right. It's funny how you fall into stuff, but really got more inspired by build all the bat houses and manage the bats there. And then the more I learned, the more I put up bat houses, the more I just wanted to do it more. First, I have to get the boards, and then I have to cut them to length and get the plans and get to work. The hardest part about building a box is those grooves. A bat can really hang on to almost anything because they have little hairs, kind of like Velcro on their claws, so they can hang on to almost nothing. But when you're building a bat house, you really want it to be kind of ideal, so you cut these grooves in there. It's sort of gives them a ladder to hang on to and more to hold on and grip. And then I just really trying to put more around where I live here in TR. I kind of wanted to do more networking, Travelers Rest, but I've got them all over the state. I've put up over 60 bat houses now and average about 18, 20 hours on each one, probably just on my own spare time. I keep thinking to myself, because I keep them in my Google Maps, my favorites, and I look back and I'm like, how did I build that many? Sometimes I don't believe myself, A lot of